Alright. Anomic lore might be confusing to you, but today I will explain all of it. Pay attention, and if there are any questions, comment them down below. Enjoy. Let's first introduce the main characters. Bryan Hoguera, Jackson Hoguera, Felix Baker, William Baker, PES, which is two people called Tyga Bonfire Flarewell and Christopher Miller. Enter the Blood Moon Update 2023. In this update, a brand new event quest was added to the game in which every night had a random chance of becoming blood. A night before the blood moon, players have to find and collect notes. These notes talk about needing the players to go to the cottage in the middle of forestry on the night of the blood moon. A year later, in the Halloween Update 2024, the revamp for the quest gives us directives on the notes, which we find out is from named Bryan Hoguera. He is spreading these notes because he needs the players' help to rescue his brother Jackson, who is being held captive in the cottage. Wait a second. I think we jumped too far. Why is Jackson being held captive? Well, if you complete Bryan's quest Route 1, Bryan tells you that the enemy county was running low on resources due to the tunnels being blocked. So Jackson stepped up and offered to make new advanced technology for a company by the name of PES. In exchange, they would supply everyone with resources. However, over time, PES stopped holding up their side of the deal, which led Jackson to revolt and stand against it. PES kidnapped Jackson and forced him to work for them in the cottage. Since Bryan was affiliated with Jackson, Bryan had to resort to hiding in the sewers to avoid being killed. That's why he got the players to raid the cottage instead of doing it himself. Okay, back to the cottage raid. The botfires were programmed to kill Jackson in case of an intrusion for unknown reasons. And due to Bryan or any player not knowing this, Jackson lost his life. The sad part is, in the basement of the cottage, you can find notes from Jackson talking to Bryan about Jackson wanting to live peacefully and hide away with Bryan. Alright, I guess it's time to explain who actually is PES. PES stands for Pilfer Energy Solutions. To pilfer means to steal. I assume this is about the energy shield. The energy shield was in the basement of the cottage raid, which PES came and took it after the raid. It is one of the main products Jackson was working on. Anyways, PES is made up of two people. Tyga Flarewell, better known as Bonfire, and Christopher Miller, who is the mayor of Quinton County. Quinton County is a neighboring city to where Anomic takes place. These two individuals blocked all the tunnels in the enemy county, making sure no one can escape. They basically control everything in some sick social experiment. They supply everyone with guns using the airfield system. During the snowplow quest, if you snowplowed 25 snow piles, they rewarded you with a snow globe. They appreciate the place not being covered in snow at least. This message of them controlling everything is reinforced in the St. Patrick's Day quest, where you had to fill a bucket with water and pour it into hidden measurement cups. PES were always monitoring these measurement cups to see if it was raining. However, PES was confused as on the cameras it wasn't raining, but the cups were filled with water. So they spawned in a rainbow thinking it was raining. Now for the reason PES decided to block all exits. The motive behind it is because they wanted a secure area to test advanced technology at. In-game, Bonfire developers sometimes hosted boss fights against Christopher Miller and Tyga Flarewell. This really shows that they were testing their weapons on the civilians. So the main thing that is the reason behind the lore is the tunnels being blocked. Why didn't Bryan and Jackson attempt to break through the tunnels to escape? Oh, actually, during Bryan's quest route 2, when you reach Section 4, you are quite literally pilfering, stealing, from PS as you have to break into an evidence room. To complete the quest, you have to shut down the power multiple times and turn it back on, causing PS to send out botfires to the evidence room to check everything out. If you kill a botfire and plug it into a computer, it will show you pictures of an incident that occurred at the blocked-off tunnels. On the date 16th of December 1990, a group of rebels rushed a tunnel and attempted to mine through it using a big excavator. This group was aided by Jackson in his attempt of trying to contest PS for not holding up their side of the deal. Bryan was there and supplied the group with fuel and resources like the thermite. Bryan and Jackson left the area as they knew excavating the tunnel would take hours, and Jackson was too paranoid to want to stay outside, so they went back to Los Hogras, while William and his crew were digging the tunnel. After 1 hour passes of digging, a helicopter flies over top with Christopher Miller and bodyguards. They go down and kill off every single rebel there. This is actually the incident that sparks PS to kidnap Jackson and make him work forcefully instead. That is currently the main lore of the game. However, there are still some small details scattered around Anomic County that I want to tell you about. 1. When you reach Bryan's bunker for Bryan's quest, you can see a stolen ATM. This ATM is stolen from the junkyard. This connects back and helps you en route to Bryan's quest, as the ATM Bryan stole used the same amount of volts needed to power the gas pump. 2. In the tunnel incident, the rebel who was excavating the tunnel name was William Baker. This man was affiliated with Bryan and Jackson for quite some time, along with his son, Felix Baker. These guys all were together when they moved into the valley. Felix Baker knew nothing about what PS was doing and didn't help his father. Now he sits alone in the chop shop. 3. There is a gravestone in the basement of the cottage during the raid. PS was preparing for Jackson's death and knew the botfires were programmed to kill Jackson in case of an intrusion to make sure no secrets got out. Now, what could the future bring to this lore? How will everything end? Well, let's head back to the Blood Moon Cottage raid. In this raid, you can find notes laying around the basement. These notes are written by Jackson and talk of how Bryan used to work at the dam and still had the keys to hydroelectric power room. Jackson's suggests that they could use that energy to detonate bombs, as PS supplied Jackson with bombs to make weapons with. These bombs being detonated by the dam's energy would be enough to blow a separate tunnel for them to escape in. Jackson also suggests that Bryan still has his EXE as backup. Bonfire developer stated that Axe should be capitalized, but nothing in the game currently shows what this Axe is yet. However, that was the plan before Jackson was killed. It's too late for that. The last bit of information I have received from Bonfire developer is that Felix Baker, the son, will help you leave the valley. How he does, though, is uncertain, but we can assume Bryan, the players, and Felix will team up and use Jackson's original plan to their advantage. But since it's been some time, those bombs are probably missing from the cottage. It is uncertain how they will get the bombs again. Okay, that is everything for real this time. Before I end the video, let me give you guys a summary. Jackson, Bryan, William, and Felix all moved to Phesther Valley. Sometime later, PS blocked up the tunnels to host an anarchy social experiment. The community was running low on resources, so Jackson stepped up and offered to make advanced technology for PS in return that the community will be supplied with resources. After some time, PS stopped holding up their side of the deal, causing William, Jackson, and Bryan to revolt and attempt to break through the tunnels. William was killed in this attempt. Bryan went into hiding, but Jackson was kidnapped and forced to make the technology. Bryan decided to get the community, aka players, to help him raid the cottage where Jackson was. However, the botfires killed Jackson due to the intrusion. After that, Bryan went back to hiding, and Felix has no clue about what happened. That's the summary of the current lore, not including the potential future. But that, my friends, is the majority of the Anomic lore. Comment any questions you have, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you for watching.